So welcome to our second Roots of Conservation event. Rachel, you can come up too and do some chatting, but I'm the Director of Lands and Natural Resources for Summit County. We are trying to do these education opportunities with our community to share land management best practices, talk about conservation, many other ideas that will come down the pipe. Just very thankful and grateful for you all being here. It is a very good time of year to have this conversation, as you probably are seeing lots of colors pop up all over the place, and learning to know which ones are the ones you don't want. And then I just have to warn you, if you're not a noxious weed expert at this point, when you leave this room, your life will be changed because you will not be able to look at the landscape again in the same way. You will constantly see them. They are around, but it's a good thing to know what they are, and it's a good thing to know what they do to our environment and how you can mitigate and help us as land managers and take care of your own properties. We have two really great speakers tonight. I'll let Rachel, are you comfortable? Yeah, Rachel can introduce, and then I'll just let you talk as well.
Yeah, I'll take it away. Make sure that I'm on the screen here. I'm Rachel Berard. I am the Program and Project Administrator for the Lands and Natural Resources Department. And thank you all for dealing with all the emails and communications and also showing up today. We really appreciate it. We're a newer department with the county, so we really want to start doing more outreach and bringing partners in to help and support our programs, and as we have been supporting their programs. So we're really just kind of trying to build this network with our partners and just bringing more knowledge together and creating more of a community around weeds and noxious weeds in Summit County specifically today. But I will be doing quarterly Roots of Conservation events, so hopefully we get more attendance even as we go on into the future. But all of our recordings for those will start to be posted online. I'm hoping we can get this one processed so that our knowledge can kind of live on through our Summit County website. If you have a friend who's interested in learning, they can always reference that website and learn more about it. But we have some wonderful speakers here today that are going to teach you all of the things that we might want to know, especially if you're new to noxious weeds in the county. But we have Sara Jo Dickens with Summit CWMA and also Ecology Bridge. And then we have Dave Bingham, who is actually with the county as well and is the weed supervisor for the county. So I will turn it over to them. Again, we just want to appreciate you coming out here today. I actually don't know if Wendy has been introduced, but for Summit County, I'll just go ahead and introduce. We have a new restoration and resource manager, Wendy Peterman, who will be starting to really tackle some of these problems on the ground within Summit County. So we're really excited to start doing that as a team together and bringing in partners for different things. Again, thanks to our partners. We have Swanner Preserve here with USU Extension, and we have Ria Cone as well. But again, thanks for being here, and I'll just turn it over and let you take the mic.
We've been working together for a while, and quite often I have something or she has something that she's over and I'm at hers or she's at mine. And it tends to work out really well that if I say something and she has an idea, that she just brings it up and keeps talking, and the other vice versa. Sometimes my ideas aren't as great as hers.
Oh, stop.
But it's okay. So I thought when this first came up, that if we worked together, and I think Sara Jo had the same idea, this might go over really well, and maybe we should do this more often.
Agreed.
If it works good. Okay?
Yeah, you tell us when we're done.
You guys tell us if this works. So where do we want to go today? We're going to talk about noxious weeds and all kinds of things about that. Okay. So the first thing we want to talk about is, first of all, what is a weed? Okay. So I do 5th grade farm field day. Just did that here a couple week ago or something. A week ago, yeah. And when I ask this question, it's kind of a mixed bunch of things. Dandelions are weeds. When I had to pull weeds in the garden, okay. So I do something, okay, you're going to help me with this, so I need participation. And I'm pretty friendly, okay, I get right in your face almost, okay. So what is a weed, okay? Tell me the definition of a weed. And no wrong answers, okay? If 5th graders can answer, you guys can. Okay?
Something that you don't want growing where it is growing.
Nice answer. Planted in the wrong place is what you're saying pretty well. So if you take your garden tomato plant, this beautiful thing, and it's growing these big, actually I like the little cherry tomatoes myself, but a whole bunch of cherry tomatoes, and you put that plant in the middle of my pasture that I want to cut for my horses, and feed my horses in that, is that tomato plant a weed? Well, by that definition, it is a weed, okay? So what we need to do here is a little bit, get more, let's dial in a little bit. What is a noxious weed? Well, the state has a definition, and I can't remember the exact definition, but I did print it off because I don't remember very well. Come on, next page. I know it's the next page, right? Oh, no, right here. Definition of a noxious weed means any plant that the commissioner determines to be especially injurious to public health, crops, livestock, land, or other property. And that's their definition, okay? And that has a whole bunch of things in with it. Things like recreation. We take a boat out, okay? Camping on the sides of a lake, hiking through the hills, driving down the road, all kinds of things. Agriculture. Okay, there are a whole bunch of things that are involved in that definition. So the state has a list of noxious weeds that they put on a list. There's 54 of those, and there are 4 county listed noxious weeds. So state does a list, and then they break them up into 5 categories: 1A, 1B, 2, 3, and 4. So 5 of them, 5 different categories. Okay, are you going into this part?
I'm going to go into impacts.
Okay, so I'm going to keep going with this just a
You
little
do
bit.
it.
Okay.
I will say though, it says 56 up here because there are 2 new species that are being considered that are
Oh, yes.
most likely going to be
Yep.
added. They're both aquatic.
Aquatic,
Eurasian
yes.
milfoil and parrot feather. We've only got them in a handful of locations right now. But
Yep.
if people aren't watching their boats, cleaning them, and they come and go out of waterways, we're going to end up like the Midwest, and they will be everywhere.
Yes, and that's right. Thank you for mentioning that. And those weeds are very much almost Cache County kind of.
Yeah, mostly Cache County. Poor Cache County.
They actually have quite a few different kinds of weeds in Cache County. It's
Somebody's
amazing
trying to
how
keep their
much they
job.
have. Anyway, and then the county has a list of 4 that. So how we classify them out? The 1A actually aren't even in the state, but they are close to us, and we want to, if we find them right off, we want to get on top of them. We did change one weed from 1A to 1B here about a year ago, something like that. The purple, Malta star thistle?
Yes, Malta
Yes,
star
Malta
thistle.
star thistle. Comes from Arizona into St. George. And we knew it was in Arizona, so we were watching, and they got right on top of it and are working on it. Anyway, so it is interesting. Then you got the 1B. It's in the state, but not a whole lot. We're hoping to make a real impact and maybe get rid of it. Okay. Then you got 2 in the state. That's there's quite a bit of it. We're still hoping for some kind of control, but not sure what's going to happen. 3 is pretty well out of control. We're just going to take care of small places that landowner asks you, hey, how do I get rid of this on my property? Yeah, here you go. Here's how you do that. And then 4 is have to do with selling plants, seed.
Both.
In both? Okay, I messed that up. Plants and seed in nursery. So that's how they go. Okay, impacts, I think, yep.
So why do we care about noxious weeds? Well, they grow really fast. They produce a bunch of seeds that readily germinate. They take over the space. They eat all the nutrients. I know they don't really eat, but they use all the nutrients before our natives are able to come up every year. What that ends up leading to are things like these monocultures of weeds. So in the upper left, that's all garlic mustard. There's nothing else growing in that area. It's almost 30 acres that has nothing else growing on the ground. On the right here, that's knapweed. I don't know how big that population is, but clearly there's not a whole lot else growing in it. And then down here you see it's a lot of thistle that deer is in. There's not a lot of forage for the deer in there. I put the bee up there because in both of these pictures of monocultures, there may not be any food for that bee. If it's a native bee, it's very unlikely any of these weeds will have the food source that it requires. They're more specialized. So as these weeds move in and take over by pushing natives out, we lose this habitat, we lose diversity. That also sets us up for an issue of if we had a catastrophic fire and all we had was garlic mustard on the ground, what do we get next? Garlic mustard. We don't get recovery of a diverse ecosystem. It just continues to feed loop, making the situation worse and worse and worse. They can also really impact our soils. They can increase flooding, they can increase erosion, and they can change what nutrients are available when. And they all have different mechanisms to do this. Some of them are real crafty. Some of them it's just they're getting there first and using it up. I like this picture because the first two panes on the left show, this is sort of like a pond bank or a river bank. And it shows two native species at that bank with really complex root systems, really holding the soil in place. When we have noxious or Kentucky bluegrass, depending where it's at, is just a weed. I call that obnoxious. When we have obnoxious weeds or like Canada thistle, noxious weeds without those root systems, that soil starts to slough off. And it falls into the pond, starting to fill in the pond, or it falls into the stream or river and causes sedimentation.
So this one been interesting to me because it happened on my place. I moved into Colville about 22 years ago, and my pasture has Chalk Creek running right through it, okay? And at that time, I didn't have any stream restoration done. Was nobody working on the stream. Well, that first year, we had a lot of snow water come down, and my banks were like this one. I lost, in one place, I'll bet I lost 50 feet on the riverbank. After this year, we did a lot of stream work in there and then have gotten it back to something close to this. And I think this problem came because the people before me didn't have the animals fenced out of the river. I still let mine in there a little bit, but it's monitored very closely. If that grass or stuff gets eaten down, lower than that, they're off. I'm not getting back to this. I don't want this again. That was lousy. That was rotten. Okay, sorry.
And this can be even more extreme and sudden too. Phragmites, you'll see photos of later, is a giant reed. Well, it's common reed here, but it's a large reed that can look a little bit like bamboo. If that builds up on riverbanks and you have huge runoff in the spring, it can break loose and take out bridges and roadways. It comes off in masses that are gigantic. And with that power of water coming off snowmelt, doesn't take much to do some serious damage. And they impact forest health and can increase wildfire. This is always one people are like, what? Well, just talked about common reed here on the left. This grass can get easily 10 feet tall. And when it dies, that biomass just does not break down. So it just keeps building and building and building until you see big swaths like this. Really drive through most of Salt Lake County, and you're gonna see it in all the ditches, Utah Lake. We don't want Summit County to look like that. But what's scary about it is that is certainly very flammable and would help carry a fire if it did ignite. The one that people often are like, nah, you're stretching it, is garlic mustard. This cute little herb, you can throw it in your salad. Don't do it after it's flowered, it's a little too astringent. But it's a cute native that will spread, like you saw, that monoculture earlier, across the forest floor. Given time, it suppresses the microbes in the soil, shuts down the fungus. The trees in our forests rely heavily on certain types of fungi to access water, especially during drought, nutrient, and some of them even help with protection with pathogens. So when we suppress those important fungi, we don't, garlic mustard does, we lose sort of an antibiotic for our forests, right? So it broke the camel's back, because what's going on right now? Years of drought, beetle infection, garlic mustard comes in, makes the trees less able to deter other stresses, makes them stressed, beetles get happier, they attack more trees, more mortality, eventually it can lead to forest fire. While that sounds really far removed, Salt Lake County and the Salt Lake watershed was so terrified by that idea when we first found it up here that they started to work with the county almost 20 years ago to make sure that garlic mustard didn't move too deeply into that watershed for the risk of catastrophic fire. And then of course, society and economy, right? The health and safety aspect. In the upper left-hand corner, we have 2 species that are toxic. Black henbane is the one that if you breathe in the flower, some people will vomit, others will pass out. It passes, not long-term, but not real fun. Poison hemlock can cause you to feel very lightheaded, can cause you to pass out, and as we know, poison hemlock is poisonous. There are tales written about it, so portions of it could kill you if you ingested them.
Including the dead stalk, okay? I did it. And
You didn't eat it.
I didn't eat it, but I did bring it back to my boss because I didn't know what it was. And he said, you need to just quit messing with that. And after he told me about that, I said, man, I just kind of feel funny. And I've never been high and just don't do that. But that's what I thought it felt like, okay, is that I was high. Whatever that means. I don't know what that really means, but that's what it felt like. So it's real, even the dead stalk.
And you don't want to have crews, climbing through that, trying to control it. You don't want to be somebody out there trying to control that. If we can keep it so that it's not spreading and it remains in small populations, we're much, much better off. In the lower left-hand corner is yellow star thistle. And if you want to kind of get a feel for it, Ria's got some plastic plants back there that you can kind of touch and look a little closer. This one, the thorns can get pretty sizable. Here in Summit County and actually in Utah in general, it's generally pretty small compared to what it looks like in California, which can get easily chest high. Here, we're seeing it about knee high, but those thorns are still pretty awful. What is difficult about this one is that it suppresses the growth of other plants around it, leaving a lot of bare ground. It also likes to just grow in crummy soil, so there's a bare ground to begin with. But whenever there's bare ground on steep slopes, what happens? More erosion, whether it's through wind or water. So we get more sedimentation moving into our waterways. Even more concerning though, for rangelands, this species can cause chewing disease and kill horses. Myrtle spurge next to it is sort of like a succulent. It's beautiful, it was planted in landscapes. Now when you drive up Parley's Canyon about a month ago, the hillsides had bright yellow that looked like sunflower, but then there was even more of this sort of yellow-green color in bloom. Hundreds of acres of myrtle spurge. Why is this concerning for health? That white sap that leaks out doesn't affect everybody, but the people it does affect, it's pretty bad. Can cause some pretty severe burns that blister and take quite a while to heal. If you get it in your eyes, it can cause temporary eye damage. So not something you want to mess around with. Some of us accidentally found out we're not allergic, whereas an entire group of Girl Scouts found out they were allergic and ended up in the emergency room. So kids are especially very sensitive to this plant. So clearly on the list for safety, but also because of how quickly it spreads. Then in the upper right-hand corner here is hound's tongue and burdock. Hound's tongue is all the tiny little seeds stuck to this poor dog's face. The flowers there to the right. Common burdock is the bigger one. If you've ever pulled burrs off yourself or off animals, the ones that are hard and stay together and are small, that's hound's tongue. The ones that fall apart and become a part of anything it's near, common burdock. The last one is puncture vine, and some people will refer to this as goat head, but essentially this forms, can't really see them that well in these pictures, but these little hard seed pods that have spikes off of them, and they literally puncture tires. We luckily do not have much of that in this county and need to keep it that way because what is one of the big recreational draws here, particularly in Park City? Mountain biking. This does a number on mountain biking. So not only is it uncomfortable for dogs to walk on, people to walk on, but it does put part of the economy at risk. You can do that one if you want.
Okay, fine. I didn't realize that, but that's okay.
I don't remember.
What?
I don't remember.
That's fine. I do think we work together like that because I think either one of us are okay to talk about whatever slides up. But this one is commonly reported noxious weeds. Canada thistle, perennial plant everywhere. Okay. Musk thistle, tall one, biannual plant. First year you get the cowpie rosette, and then the next year you get the flowering plant, purple head. That purple is very pretty. Then you got Scotch thistle. This one's kind of an ugly plant to me. Even the head, the purple isn't right. I don't know what it is, but it's it does get about as tall as musk thistle. It is a biannual plant. And that, I don't want to talk about that one anymore. That is no fun. Dalmatian toadflax in the bottom left corner there. That one's a perennial plant. The flowers are, that yellow is pretty too, okay? They do like a snapdragon flower, pinch them and the mouth opens up, but that's kind of fun there. I kind of like that one. Dyer's Woad. That one, the color is pretty close to Dalmatian, but Dyer's Woad is more brilliant, more of a pop at you until it turns black, and then it's just ugly like Scotch thistle. Dyer's Woad is a biannual. Biannual. First year you get the rosette. They're kind of small. Okay, got a white vein through the middle of the leaf, and then next year you get the flowering plant. And later in the year, you're seeing this one right now. It's flowering right now, and then the seeds will come on here in probably 2 weeks or something. Guessing 2-3 weeks, something like that. And then they'll be black in a month or a month and a half, okay? Houndstone. This is another one to me, the flowers, when you go from the blue kind of to a violet purple, whatever it is, that's pretty too, okay? That flower's pretty, okay? It's a biannual plant. This is in the last frame, you saw the dog with houndstone all over his face. That was houndstone. It does that. What was one? Oh, Mormon lice. It does have one nickname that I've heard of, Mormon lice. If you walk through it, it covers you. Okay, it'll cover you just like lice. I think. Anyway. Okay, next one.
And I should have said too, with that houndstone, it also is toxic. It can do irreparable damage to the liver if consumed. Of course, you'd have to consume a lot. So who's most at risk of consuming a lot? Dogs who are spending a lot of time pulling it off themselves. If anyone's dog is, the seeds are toxic. Yeah. So if your dog's like mine, she isn't going to let you know she's got seeds. She's going to go try and take care of it somewhere else. So, but it takes a lot of seeds for that to occur.
Okay. Didn't know that.
Oh,
Okay,
I was supposed to do these. I'm sorry.
Okay. No,
you were right. You were
It's
right.
okay.
I
We're
now
good.
see what you have.
So let's do half and half. No, I'm kidding. Go ahead.
So these are our priorities in the county. And earlier, Dave talked about the different classes. So a lot of these, not all of them, but some are in the 1B statewide. But often we may have slightly different priorities than the state, because we may not have very many of these weeds in our county, even though they could be in a lot of counties. So these are species that we generally don't have a ton of. That's changing for some of them, except garlic mustard. It's still a priority,
Yes.
but we're praying for biocontrol because it is out of control.
So as the state classifies the weeds, okay, As a county, I can reclassify them as long as I keep all of the weeds on the list. Can't take anything off. But I can reclassify them, and that's how we changed a lot of these weeds to fit Summit County, because there's some that aren't even in the county and some that are here not very much. Not very much, is that even how you say that? Okay.
We get it.
So there you go. So we did that, and that's where Sara Jo's headed here.
And the other thing with reclassification, there's one category that we have to ask permission to reclassify.
Oh, yes.
And that's moving from that class 4 prohibited, where you can't sell it or transport it in and out of the state, really. We have to get permission if we want to move it up to class 3 or 2 or 1, making it, well, not 1, well, 1B, I guess it could go there. Making it a higher priority. And that's because when you make that change, you're impacting the industry, right? So the landscape and seed industry, the horticultural industry, there are laws that all have to be adjusted when that change occurs at the state level. So we have to make sure we ask the state before we do that. And if you look on the list, you're not going to see that we moved all of these around in the classes, so much as this is how we tackle them. Garlic mustard is, we already kind of saw it earlier, it has this white flower, arrow-shaped leaves when it's a full-grown plant, heart-shaped or kidney bean when it's a little rosette. I will show a map later. You'll see how fast it spreads. So this is the one that can increase fire risk over time by changing soils. Next to it is yellow toadflax. This is a perennial, has a pretty decent root system. It's much like the Dalmatian toadflax, but Dalmatian's flowers can be about this big. Yellow toadflax is going to be about this big. So they're super tiny. The entire flowering stalk of yellow toadflax can be the size of Dalmatian toadflax. Dalmatian toadflax feels waxy. It's kind of like a succulent. And yellow toadflax, really flimsy, not waxy at all. Just little fingery kind of leaves. Phragmites we already looked at, so it's a giant grass. That is a perennial with a substantial root system. Next to it is leafy spurge, which is closely related to myrtle spurge, but if you take myrtle spurge and stretch every bit of it up and stretch it out, it's a much thinner plant, leaves are thinner. If you break the leaf, it still leaks the sap, but generally it doesn't impact people the same way that the myrtle spurge does. These spurges can get 40 feet deep root systems. Probably not something you're controlling with hand weeding alone. Then we have the knapweeds. They're all kind of related, and the best way to tell these apart is by looking at the flower and flower head. These are closely related to yellow star thistle, which we talked about earlier. All of them impact the soil similarly. Russian knapweed, that impact is being it's lasting longer. Let's say nobody's got great numbers, but people are having far more difficulty doing restoration after it's been removed than the other knapweeds. So starting on the far corner, diffuse knapweed, almost always a white flower. What we're looking at is what we call bracts. So it's just these little scales, looks like fish scales all around the flower head. With diffuse knapweed, they're kind of a creamy white. They've got all these little fingers coming off, and they point up and out. With Russian knapweed, they fold close around the flowering head. They're almost papery. They really look more like fish scales. Knapweed, they're just kind of there. They're not pointing any one direction. But the giveaway for the spotted knapweed is that dark spot at the tip that's always there. Sometimes when you see a skeleton of these, you can still tell that it was spotted knapweed. Now, squaros, we have one population in the county, and thank goodness Dave and his crew found it and got on it. Squaros knapweed looks similar to the diffuse, but those scales come out and away. Kind of more like that, really. And they have the fingers as well. You're always going to have this violet colored flower with a little bit of white in the center.
Okay, this to me is the funnest part, okay? Because most of the time, at least when I first started at the county, how we control weeds is herbicide, chemical. We're killing everything. That's all we do. Well, that isn't true. Not at all. Even when I first started. But it is interesting to me to show this. Integrated weed management is how we want to go at this. And it isn't just chemical. It's starting out education, what we're doing here today. And if you don't know what a weed is, if you're still calling your tomato plant in your pasture a weed, then you don't know what you're doing. So we got to have education. Got to know what you're dealing with and all kinds of stuff with that, okay? And then you get into mapping. You got to know where they're at. And we both do a very good job at mapping. In fact, Sara Jo's better than I am, to be honest with you. But I get a lot of help. My mapping program, it can be used by anybody. Hers isn't quite that. She's a little more detailed, and it's good. It's good.
Smaller area, more detailed. Larger area, less detailed.
Less detail, yes. So then you get into, after you get through here, then you get into these other things here, the chemical, the mechanical, the biological, and there are a few others that go here. Cultural, you said another one the other day that I can't remember, and it don't matter, okay? So you got a whole bunch of things that help take care of weeds. If you don't have healthy soil, what grows there? Yeah, weeds, they don't care how healthy the soil is. Okay, and that has to do with the cultural, right plants, right places. Even in my own pasture, I have places that are wetter and places that are rocky dry, and so I got different plants in those different areas within a 12-acre pasture. Okay, so right plants, right places. Then you come into some herbicides. If you don't use the right herbicide, so when I first started, the thought was the county just used Roundup, and that's all they use. Well, that's less than 1% of what I do. Way less, like 0.01%. It's tiny for what I do with Roundup. Because all Roundup does is kill everything, and I don't want to kill everything. I want to leave the grasses to help out compete the weeds that I'm trying to get rid of. So chemical, right places, all that stuff. Mechanical, there's a place for that. Digging, cutting, grubbing, all kinds of stuff. There is a place for that. I even have a shovel on my own four-wheeler at my own place. When I don't have herbicide on, if I find a thistle, one or two, I'll go dig it up. Go from there. Biological is the funnest one out of all these. Just the funnest. Not most important, but the funnest. It has to do with insects and funguses that help us with noxious weeds. That one's a fun one, okay? Then you gotta have some way to pay for it all. The money, okay? You gotta have the money, okay? Sara Jo does well with the money side of things, okay? Okay, that's the grant funding. We'll talk about all these a little bit. And I can't remember what's next here. Okay, so because you gotta have education, you gotta have things like this to talk to people. These are just some of the things that I have on for the docket this year. Okay? For my own employees, we start out with the UWCA conference. That's a 2-day conference that we go to in February, learn about weeds and all kinds of stuff about that. Okay? Then you get a summer training. It's more specific for the weed supervisors. Some of my guys go there and have to do with that, but we get hands-on, a lot of hands-on stuff. We try to hit different places, have different kinds of weeds that we haven't seen before, different noxious weeds. Then you get down to the Summit and Wasatch workshop. So that's down to Summit County and Wasatch County. We put on a workshop in November that is just really neat because you have hands. It's like this right here, about 50 people in a room that we can just talk about things, and I really enjoy that, okay? Then you get out to the public here, FFA students. I've had some fun things with FFA students. Asking me if they can have more biocontrol to do things with. They can't go out and spray, but they can mess with biocontrol. North and South side, I just talked about that farm field day. Had some excellent questions this last time with the 5th graders. And down the list there, down to even mapping, how to map. Weed tour, that's one I do want to talk about. Not this Saturday, June 7th, the next Saturday. So a week from this Saturday, we're putting on a tour. If you want to come. We're starting at Richardson Flat parking lot, and we'll bus you from there to wherever we're headed. We'll spend a big part of the day there. Are you there, or you couldn't be there? We don't know. I can't remember.
That's my pit stop. where I'm at.
Oh, that's right. You had something else that day. That's right.
2 others.
Okay. So come on out. If you want to be there, just come, okay? And we'll go from there. Doing the whole toll gates this weekend, trails, trash, and tunes this weekend also. We put out VDOT books, English and Spanish. They're both back there. If anybody speaks Spanish, if I did something wrong, I don't speak anything.
Well, so
Okay.
I should say too, with that book, thanks to Dave coming up with the funding to print it, and Park City partnered with us to have it translated.
Yes.
So that we didn't have to hire a translator because we just didn't have the funding for it. So it was a good partnership. When we talk about we work better together and we can accomplish more by working together. A simple resource that I can't believe we haven't had for so long.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
took 3 organizations to make happen.
Yes. Okay. Next one. Whoops. Oh, yep. It's going.
So that's us. So when it comes to education, the Summit CWMA does, we do trainings on our right side here. We do the same conference. We do 2 annual trainings that are really geared toward people who want to go more intensely into noxious weeds, and they get their continuing education credits if they take that, thanks to Dave reaching out and making sure that happens for us every year. Then we do a lot of events that don't seem really related, like fire-wise events, but we help people understand how weeds can contribute to fire and how quickly weeds can spread if they're not considered while planning fire mitigation efforts. And then we do different fun outreach programs. One being Hounds Against Hounds Time. I don't have a picture here. I don't know that we'll be having it this year, but when we do have it, we essentially go to a spot where there's a lot of hounds tongues, standing dead seed. We give a big bucket of balls to a bunch of people who brought their dogs, and we just say, throw those balls. The dogs go crazy for about half an hour. They come back. And this is the part everyone regrets throwing the ball, because now you're pulling all the seeds off and you're counting them. So people quickly learn how easily this weed spreads on themselves and the dogs. And they, the ones that pull off the most between the hound and the human, win a prize. So it's fun. Last year we removed 76,000 seeds in just those couple of hours. That's how quickly they adhere and can be spread. The ones that we still have going this year that are garlic mustard games here, we've pulled in the last 5 years 32,000 pounds of garlic mustard through this program. It is a countywide competition. There's flyers in the back with information in both English and Spanish. And essentially you form a team, or you just are your own team. And you can join us at events where we give away prizes, just have a lot of fun pulling, or we have stations all over on the trail systems in Western Summit County that you can go out and pull on your own, scan a QR code, tell us how much pounds you or your team pulled that day and where you pulled it, and then we track that on a leaderboard. Top pullers get invited to a food truck party at the end of the season where more prizes are given out. So people get really jazzed about participating in this. We have well over 100 volunteers that come every year to be a part of it because, one, there's prizes. How do you make weeds sexy? Give people things, right? Give them cool things. But also because once they start to do it, they get in these big patches and they look at the horrible patch. They spend a couple of hours, they step back and they look at it and they just go, wow, we did that. And that is instant gratification. The other one that we do is the Noxious Weed Ambassador Program, and this is to help people learn about different noxious weeds that we don't have as much funding to actually control. And we put these boxes out on different trails with bags and shovels and tools for people to pull these weeds. And each of those signs has pictures of the weeds, a description of what is the best way to help control on the trail. You're not in your yard, you don't have all of the same tools, right? So how can you help us on the trail? Bag them, log your pounds. Every 2 weeks we give away a prize. So we use a lot of incentivizing to get people to start working with weeds, and believe it or not, you can get hooked. You can get addicted, and you want to be a part of these programs. But really getting people out to just get their hands dirty, have fun with each other, and learn about weeds is the best way that we're able to spread the knowledge throughout the county so that more and more people take what they're doing at these events and the trails and start doing it in their backyards.
And I'm not part of this tag team, but I have to put a shout out to her for these programs. These are the most innovative, fun, engaging. I mean,
Yep.
she is connecting with the youth at a level that is creating the next level of stewardship. And I mean, hats off to these ideas. I mean, they really are, 32,000 pounds. I mean, this program's only been in place for how many years?
5 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like, and to watch it grow and just to see the participation, I mean, good job. I just had to say that.
Yep.
Thank you. It's a lot of fun. We have so many amazing volunteers. We also have a lot of really amazing partners that show up. We do this on everyone else's land. Summit CWMA doesn't own land. So we have partners that let us come help on their land, and they help get sponsors to help with these prizes. And almost all of our sponsors are local businesses or in the outdoor industry. So they recognize the value of keeping these weeds off our open space.
In this area, Summit CWMA is phenomenal. I'm not this good at all, not even close, not even the same ballpark, okay, nothing, okay?
So to the mapping part, Dave's talking about the detail kind of mapping we do. What you see here is we use ArcGIS, so this is all GPS, GIS-based data that we collect in the field. In 2014, everything you see in red is where garlic mustard was known to be. This is where we are today. So we have inventoried over 25,000 acres. We have mapped 850 acres of actual garlic mustard. And we control over 100 acres annually. That flexes. Some years we actually control closer to 300. Depends on grant funding. So you can imagine we may not control as much this year. But what is important about the way that we do our mapping is that we're able to look at these polygons and we can see them shifting over time. So I can show you how all of these populations are growing. If I had the time and did the analysis, I could also show you how a lot of these populations have started shrinking. So we do have locations up in Summit Park, upper left there, a couple spots in Pine Brook, definitely Willow Creek, parts of Ranch Place, a few places in Park City where we've reduced it by over 70%. And so while it still looks like it's there, there's hardly any left. But it's because we use polygons that allow us to do this. Now, if I were to scan way out at the county level or the state level, these little polygons would disappear and you wouldn't see anything at all. And you wouldn't notice that we've got 850 acres mapped. Guess what? We think we have 1,600 acres or more. We just haven't mapped it yet. But you wouldn't even know it's there. Whereas when Dave maps, go ahead to yours.
Okay, I'm gonna back up just a little bit, okay? So, okay. Garlic mustard to me is very important and we need to control it. Not as important like it is to Sara Jo. Sara Jo, this is her bread and butter. It's really good. It helps her.
I hate this plant deeply.
Okay. I'm not quite there. It's still important to control. Okay. So when I look at this map and the previous map, I see, well, you just mapped it all. You're mapping more of it. And some of that did happen, okay? Mm-hmm. It did spread some too. I'm not saying garlic mustard doesn't spread, because it does. Animals, specifically, thank you, like deer and elk, that specifically there, okay? They do a lot of it, moose. But to me it's important to, even though it probably didn't spread to this point from right here where it was when the first map, it was probably here. If you don't know it's there, how do you keep looking out to these little places? Or if you didn't know it's here, the first map, and you didn't look there, you gotta keep looking, okay? Mapping is very important to find out where the weeds are headed, where they are, and where they're headed, where they are and where they're headed, so you know where to go. In the beginning, we were hoping garlic mustard was specifically Summit Park area, okay? And now we know it's not even close. It's way huger, bigger, whatever word it is there, okay?
And I would agree with Dave. I think that a large portion of this wasn't necessarily spread in that time period. It is just that we finally got to those populations. Sure, did the edges grow in 10 years? Did, pointing out this giant population on Armstrong Trail and then all of these tiny little ones further upslope, did that happen in 10 years? That probably did happen. It's moving with bikes up those trails. How do we know where to look? I think that's a good point that Dave brought up. I follow trails. I follow waterways. I look for slopes that are close by that the wind could have transported, not garlic mustard, but other seeds like spotted knapweed. With garlic mustard, I look for game trails. I will find the tiniest populations in the middle of nowhere. When you look at a map, you're like, that chick has got some psychic ability with these weeds. And as much as it's fun to pretend that's true, I found a game trail. And I just followed it knowing that I was gonna find something. So it's really understanding how each of these plants moves, what are their vectors of spread as we call them, and following those vectors from the known edges of what we already have.
Okay, let's go into how I mapped, okay? So back in 2017, in fact, it was 15 or 16 when we started EdMaps system. This is something any of you guys can do. Get on your phones and get an app, EdMaps app. Great app, okay? It has a lot of information there and then allows you to put points on there. When you put points on a map, before it goes on the map, I get to verify it. I get to decide if Sara Jo's full of it, or
He's
okay?
caught me a couple times. I hit the wrong species.
That's my job, to go look at those places and make sure what you said is there actually is there in Summit County. Okay, so this is what we started out with. This is a map of 2017, what it looked like. And these aren't individuals, there are all kinds of weeds here. They're not just one species. These are all kinds of weeds. And you can see there's not very many points on this in 2017, okay? And this was an interesting map to me to see this, what it came from to what it is now.
Each of those numbers in those circles, that's like when you zoom out, the points that are close together get globbed into one point. So when it says 26, there are actually 26 populations spread out in that area.
So today it kind of looks like this right here. You can see a lot more populations. Heavens, you've got 111, 153 points right there. You also see different colors in there, not just red. Okay, when we started out EdMaps, it was just putting a point, red point. There is a noxious weed there, and this is the size of it and all about it. Okay, what stage it was in, what area, what habitat it was in, all kinds of stuff about it. Then we kind of started, hey, we need to do something with these points, and that's what the other colors come in. So you got red is a positive point. That's a weed, and nothing's happened with it besides say that is a noxious weed right there, or some population of it, okay? Then when you get into the yellow, that's a place that's been treated in some way. Biological, mechanical, herbicide, anything, okay? It's been treated some way, okay? And then when you get into the green, that's an area that has been eradicated. We still want the point there because when you use the word eradicated, that suggests that it's never going to come back. Well, sorry. Sorry.
Jen's laughing because we just went through 2 areas last weekend that were eradicated. We knew because we had the polygon data from historic populations that it had been there, and the populations are back. They're not as big, but they're back. These seed banks, depending upon the species, anywhere from 5 to 50 years. So eradicated, maybe in 50 years.
So that's why it's important to leave the point there. You don't ever want to get rid of a point. You don't want to make it disappear. That's not, because they can come back. Like Sara Jo just said, 50 years seed bank. There are quite a few weeds that have that. Quite a few of them are a lot less, but you just don't know what's going to happen. So what I look at this map now and see, hey, we're making progress. We're doing something. We're certainly gaining more points overall, but there's quite a few things that are happening. We're treating a lot. We're eradicating, whatever we're calling that. Okay, we're doing something here. I can show people this, that something is happening here.
I think too, this is important when we get to the grant part. This is used at the state level. It's actually used at the national level. But our state uses this data to determine where they're sending funding.
Yep.
And in order for our state weed supervisor to talk all of the big honchos at the state into putting a good amount of money into that budget, they need to see progress. The polygons I showed you, if we zoomed out to the state level, wouldn't exist. But this point data allows you to see at different scales the progress that's being made. So there's a difference in the type of data that we have, and their applications are also very important and different.
Yes. Okay, so we've talked about education and we've mapped the weeds now. Now let's get in how we're going to take care of them. In Summit County, one of the things we offer is equipment to use. So in 2009, I had 37 pieces of equipment. That equipment went out, a piece of equipment went out 104 times that year. 2024, now we have 110 pieces of equipment, 360 times, so it's growing. And I've been actually surprised the last few years, there are still people in Summit County that do not know about this. I loan this stuff out for free. If you break it, I fix it. Unless you roll it down the road and going 70 or something, then we'll talk something else. But if you break a nozzle or a handgun or a hose or heavens, that's little stuff. We fix it. Okay, so you use it and we fix it if you break it. We also sell herbicide at our cost. If you come in and you say, I have one musk thistle, what kind of herbicide do you use? I'm going to say, take your shovel and turn around. You don't need herbicide. Okay. If you come in and say, my pasture that I cut for my horses is full of Dyer's woad, and I want to not have the Dyer's woad, so I'm going to use Roundup. Is that good? No, that's not even. That'll kill the Dyer's woad, but also kill your grasses. I don't want to do that. That's not the intent of that herbicide. So then we'll talk about what herbicide to use, okay? Then you even get into the herbicides, you get into how long do they last in the ground? Where's an appropriate place to use them? There's a herbicide for thistle that'll last in the ground for a couple of years, but you have to be real careful about if you feed that grass to my horses and then my horses goes on to my neighbor's alfalfa pasture and craps it out, it can kill some of his alfalfa. Okay, so I have to be careful of those kind of things. If you're going to use herbicide, use it correctly, right places, right amounts, right, all of that stuff. Read the label. Label is the law. By the way, Dave is not. The label is the law, not me. Okay, and you can see in 2001 we started out we sold $400 worth of stuff. Last year I sold $110,000 worth of herbicide. I think that's good because people are coming and they're asking questions. What should I do? What kind of herbicides should I use? Is this herbicide correct? Is that herbicide correct? Is these plants, what kind of herbicide do I need for that? It's a good thing. We do a lot of education at that area where we sell this and loan out equipment. So come use some of it if you want to.
And does this reflect some of the differences in knowledge, you think, on the west versus the east side of the county? Whereas on the east side, we've got folks whose livelihood for generations have been livestock, grazing, agriculture. So maintaining the weeds have been really, really important. They live on those lands.
Okay, yeah.
Versus here in Summit County, well, people they love the outdoors, but they have this small piece of property. They're not as versed in the elements of nature and how they interact. They are very busy doing a gazillion things, distracted, and so they just don't have that knowledge. Do you think that this great increase is a real reflection of bringing sort of the western side of the county
Absolutely.
Along in the conversation?
Because when I started out in 2009, and then I started this, by the way, that the 37 pieces of equipment, there was like 5 or 6 or 7 backpacks. Now I have 39 backpacks that get loaned out. That isn't guys that have 100 acres or more. That's quarter acre lots. You don't need a tractor sprayer on a quarter acre lot. You need a backpack is all you need. So yes, absolutely. That's more people getting educated in where they're at.
And this is important because we live in a wildland urban interface. There are a lot of things that happen at this interface that put our natural resources at risk, but also a fire that could put life and property at risk, right? So all of us who live in this area really have to become very educated in what it takes to manage. But for someone like Dave, anyone in that position at a county level trying to enforce on all of those parcels you saw earlier, it can't happen. There's not enough time, there's not enough money. And so the education is the best way for him to get that to happen and to start seeing it reflected here in people coming and not just hearing the word, but actually taking action is really telling, I think, of how successful that program is.
Yes. Keeping going with herbicide.
And so chemicals are something I don't deal with. That is whenever someone says, what do I use for? I say, if it's not garlic mustard or knapweed or Phragmites, I probably don't have the best answer for you, but I know where you can go and find out. Not only do you get the answer, you get herbicide at a lower cost, and you get direction, and you can use equipment for free. The one thing that I do with chemicals is hire licensed contractors. I would like to say, not to insult landscape companies, I had one. Landscape companies are not the same thing as a licensed herbicide contractor. Herbicide contractors have to go through different training that makes them more educated on how to choose the proper chemical for the right species at the right growth stage, choose the right chemical for the environment, for the right temperature, for the right wind, for the right soils, for the right distance from the water. There are so many things that need to be taken into account. I hire a contractor. I don't want to have to transport it, I don't want to have to store it, and I don't know enough because I have all these other things that I'm doing. So we hire through our grant program contractors to help us spray certain weeds, some of our highest priority weeds. And we are using our mapping system to tell them where to go and to track where they've been. So this is a map of Wasatch Mountain State Park. This hatched area, the aqua sort of marine color, that's what we call a contractor assignment. I just sit at my desk and I draw that shape. I call my contractors who I've worked with now for almost 10 years and know who to trust where, who knows the access, who knows how to get in the back way or get up that dangerous road in that area. And I say, hey, I'll put something in Wasatch State Park. I want you to control, in this case, the light yellow colors are leafy spurge. That's where we know it is, where it hasn't been treated yet. I want you to go in and spray that. Those darker colors are where my contractors just sprayed the day before. So I can, from my desk, tell them where to go, tell them what to treat, and then I, by the end of the day, know how far they went, but also I know what chemical they used and at what rate, how long it took them to do it. So we get to record all the things that if there were a problem, we can go back to and determine what caused that problem, who sprayed it, was it the right chemical, or in the case of garlic mustard, for a long time we used the same rate of a different chemical and we weren't seeing the same control that we wanted to see. So we had a couple people change that up. Control was better with this different chemical at an even lower rate. We went with that chemical. So this allows us to work with our contractors who are certified, know what they're doing, to carefully treat these weed populations and track all of that in our mapping system.
Okay, so we talked about herbicides a little bit. Biocontrol, that's the fun one for me. I really love this one. I'm not a scientific guy. I couldn't tell you any scientific name for any of these biocontrols. None of them. That's not me. But I do like what they do and how they work and how much fun they are to me. So specifically, and I'm going to start with the fun ones here. These right here. These are the funnest ones to me, okay? And they all have something, but these are the funnest, okay? I'm going to tell you why. Years ago when South Summit came to me and North Summit High School, hey, we want to do something weeds, okay? Let's get you some biocontrol. Well, I had been putting out this one for a few years, He's a root feeder, okay, Sifo, and this one we've been collecting out in Eureka, okay? And so it's okay, let's do this. I've been putting Sifo, this one root feeder out. Let's go see what they're doing. So we started pulling plants, and if you come to June 7th, I will show you a weevil there. Okay, I will. I promise you I can find it. It won't be hard either. Okay, I'll show you what they do to the plant. So we started doing that, pulling up. You just grab the plant and pull on it. If it comes up and breaks off that far down, yeah, weevil's in there. He's eating the root off, and he's going to take out the plant eventually. Okay, and he just makes little holes in there. It's kind of fun. Okay, so I'm going to years later. Okay. Summit County, with them FFA students there, were the first county in the state of Utah to find him in the field. We found the babies easy enough. That's easy to do. But the adult, we're the first one to find him. We are the first one to even have a collection day on him twice. Okay? I can't do that. I'm not the collecting guy. I found one the last time we did it, and everybody else found 30.
That's why I was laughing when he said he would show you what to do.
I still love that one. It's a lot of fun.
But he does have one staff guy, isn't it one who found like 37 or something like that?
Something, yeah.
In an hour.
I still love that one. It's a lot of fun. Okay, and then this one right here, this one's a fun one because of what we collected this last year. So if I have to buy these insects, they're about $1 to $1.50 per insect. Okay, this last year down in Eureka, we had a collection day there, about 4 hours total time from starting to end. We gathered 200,000 insects that day. That's a lot, okay? My budget for the year is about $10,000. If I can go out there and gather $20,000 worth of insects, and I bring back a lot of money there, okay? Put in the county and then spread it through the county. That day, they went all over the state. St. George, Tooele, Cass County, Uinta, they went everywhere in the state, okay? So if you want to have some fun, come out to that too, the 1st of July in Eureka, just a little bit past the high school, about a mile or 2 miles, probably 2 miles. Come on out, okay? Okay, them are the fun ones, okay? The really fun ones. The rest of these are just really fun, okay? There's a difference between really fun and really fun, okay? Leafy spurge. You got two of them. The longhorns are the best, but they're hard to get established. They do like to eat on the stem. They do really good, okay? The beetles, they come in black and a kind of an orange-brown color, okay? And they are a defoliator. They eat the leaves off there, okay? A lot of fun. We've actually found quite a few places in Summit County where it keeps leafy spurge at that area. It won't take it out. Biocontrol is not a silver bullet. They will not eat themselves out of house and home because they are very much plant specific. They won't, if these plants ever die out, they won't go to your tomato plants or your aspen trees or grass or anything. They are very much plant specific. If we ever eradicate leafy spurge from the county, those insects just die. Period. End of it. They're done. Which is good, but not. Okay, there you go. Okay, then you get into Dalmatian toadflax. This one's actually a rock star. He is the best doing his job. He can reduce populations by 70%. There is a place, and I keep losing the name of it, over in Wanship, next on the south side of the state shed. They have elk on their gates, and I can't remember this place, what the name of it is. But my boss, Jack, 20 years ago, put this bug in that area, maybe not 2015, this bug in that area, and I go check it every year to make sure what it's doing, but I never spray anything on Dalmatian because those insects are keeping that at a level that I'm okay with. A few plants here and there, and every plant I find has an insect on it. If it keeps it at that level, I don't need to spray it. There's no need for that. So he's a rock star. He's a fun one. This one's a little different. Dyer's Woad rust, way different than Dalmatian. The rust for Dyer's Woad is a fungus. You're actually not even legal to move this one around this year. Not FFA, no.
Aphis.
APHIS has decided that we don't want us to mess around with fungus, and that's a fungus. Whatever it is, it's already here, it's already out there. It only works on about 10%, 20% of plants. It's not that great. You can see, so if you take a Dyer's Woad plant, it's got 3 or 4 stalks coming up, you can see one stalk that has the rust on it and the other ones don't. Same plant. It's a fun one to watch and look at, but it doesn't do that much. It's out there. Okay, there you go. Bindweed, field bindweed. This one is microscopic mites. Can't even see them. Okay, there are 1,000 on that leaf that's sitting there on my hand there. I don't even know how many really, but so this one, the FFA students came to me and said, hey, we want more than just spotted knapweed bugs. We want something else. And this is what we started with. This one can reduce a population by 40%. Pretty good, not bad. How you move him around, he can't move by himself. He has to have somebody or something help him move. So if you're gonna mow the place, if you're gonna walk through it, if you're gonna anything, moving the plant, and how you move it is just take that leaf that I got there, that whole piece there, pick it up and put it into a different place. That's pretty well it. It's pretty easy to move him around, okay? Just walking through him will move him around. And he's kind of fun, okay? Okay, we talked about them. Oh, Canada thistle here, okay? He's got 3 different ones. Gallfly, we started maybe 7 or 8 years ago, and we're actually finding him in many different places that we didn't even know he was. We hadn't put him there. So he's moving around quite a bit. The fungus, I can't get started for some reason. I don't know how to do that. I've actually given up on that. I can't do it. I don't know. It's not in my power to do that, I guess. I don't know. The stem miting weevil, he's actually everywhere. He's easy to get started. These ones don't work that well on Canada thistle. They're there. They do mostly they weaken the plant and then something else comes in and kills him. These ones, that's how they kind of work. They're there and I play with them and we have fun with it. But they're not that great, okay? This one, for poison hemlock, it's a defoliating moth. These little inchworms, you start out like that, and they actually eat on the leaves. Love them. I think, okay, and this is my opinion here, okay, that if I get enough of him in Summit County on the populations that we have, he might do the job for me and not have to put herbicide. There will still be places I put some herbicide out. So I think he's gonna do some good there, and we keep putting him out. Gathering these things is a lot of fun, moving them around. I love that part of my job, really have fun. We're trying to come up with a new way to gather this one. So how we do it now is a sweep net, like a big butterfly net, canvas butterfly net, and then you come back to this station and dump out all the stuff that's in there, insects and sticks and whatever else is in there, okay? And then you separate individual insects out of there, okay? It's a fun process. Came up with a neat idea there. The Bug Sucker 2000 is what they call it. It's really neat, okay? Come out to the Eureka and see it, okay? The new way to do this.
Yeah.
So there's a thought out there that a black light will attract these. Put it out at night, they attract to this thing, rig something so that they go into this bucket okay, we gotta create this, okay? And I told my guys we need to have this done before July 1st so we can try it. And we're hoping it works. If it works, you imagine getting there in the morning, not even have to separate anything, just pick the bucket up and walk out of there? Gee, wouldn't that be neat? Okay, there you go. Next one.
And I should say with this, biocontrols are not something that every county takes on the way that Dave does. So a lot of kudos to him for putting as much effort into it and engaging the students that he has, because he really has created this whole new generation of kids that not only are interested in controlling weeds, but now we've got potential entomologists, right? There's a lot of STEM programs that deal with plants and animals, but insects, if they're not a butterfly or a bee, people aren't always paying attention. So that's a pretty great contribution to education for the students, but also to bring this to our county as a resource that I can't even tell you the value of. We never have enough money to treat all the weeds. There will never be in 1 year enough people and money to get to them all. So how do you decide what to treat? The stuff you don't have much of and the stuff that you don't have another option for. So like with the Dalmatian toadflax, that might be one of the last weeds I go after. Not because I don't care or because it's not important, but because I already know it's out there, this bug is controlling it and doing a lot of what I need it to do while I address these other things. And that kind of stuff wouldn't be possible if the Summit County Weed Department didn't really push to make this a very large part of their program.
So this biocontrol is what I love. This is what we do in Summit County. I think that's all of them. But anyway, what's the future now? What's next for biocontrol, okay? First one there, punchifine, I'm looking for a big enough place to put it. They say it can't grow here, can't live here. They said that about spotted knapweed too.
The bugs, that
well,
is.
the bugs, yes, the bugs, sorry, thank you. So I'd like to find a population of punchifine big enough to put this insect and do whatever he does. I want to make that happen.
But let's find it in Morgan or Wasatch County.
Say that.
Let's find that population in Morgan or
Yes,
Wasatch.
and I'll put the insects
Right.
there too. Okay, I would do that just to see if he works. Okay, and I have done that. Yellow star thistle has a one. Okay, that is like Dyer's wool. Okay, he doesn't work that well, and I put him in Salt Lake and Wasatch just to keep him from coming here. Okay, we have very small populations of yellow star thistle in Summit County. I don't want to keep him away from me, okay? But so if I could find a place like that, I'd put this guy and see what happens, okay? Yellow star thistle, this one's kind of a fun one because we actually have a garden of yellow star thistle in Davis County that we are helping with. And we're doing that to find out how the plant grows. All of the literature that we have now came from California. Well, weeds go differently in California than they do Utah, okay? They just that's the way it is, okay? We're finding that yellow star thistle isn't a biannual plant or a winter annual.
Yeah.
It is an annual in Utah, and we've proven that by having this garden. We started and planted them last October, something there, September, October, and we had some come up, some rosettes come up. After it got cold and hard frost, all of those died. Every one of them died. And then they started again in end of February, March, right there, okay? So it's an annual plant in Utah, in my opinion, okay? Then we have to know, and we're hoping this happens, now that we've kind of figured the plan out just a little bit, we're gonna get an insect, we're hoping this year, to come on yellow star thistle. He's gonna be a root feeder and he's gonna be great. He's gonna be amazing, I think. And so we're gonna get him this year to put on those plants and see what happens. Now he's been approved to be here. He's not gonna go to your tomato plants or your trees, or he's getting that yellow star thistle only, won't do anything else. So we're gonna try him, see what happens. Now we have to figure out how's the best way to grow him. If we put music out there, is that gonna help him? If we put disco lights, does that help? Whatever it is, okay? Shady places, sunny places, we're gonna get to him. I think it's gonna happen this year. We'll get him to Davis County. After that, I want him in Salt Lake and Wasatch. Okay, that's where I want him, okay? Get him going. Okay, Houndstone got one coming hopefully in the next year or two. This one is actually by Pineview Reservoir, but he's illegal to move around. He actually shouldn't be there, okay? He's illegal to have in the United States. He's gonna be a great little one though with her. in Utah, sorry. Not in, he's actually, can be in the United States, but not Utah yet. Do I have that right?
Yeah, isn't it in Idaho? It's in Canada, but didn't it moved to Idaho? So I don't know if it's actually legal. It moved itself.
Okay, don't listen to me on that one, okay? But he's coming, okay? And he's gonna be great. But if I go down to wherever he's at now, Canada or wherever he's at, and move him here, that's like going to jail time. You cannot do that. Don't do that. That is not the way to do this, okay? So don't do that. Okay, garlic mustard. This is one that I'm really hoping happens because we will not get garlic mustard if we don't have a biocontrol. Garlic mustard is in too many places that you won't find it. Under trees, under bushes, under sagebrush right here, under whatever. We won't get it if we don't have a biocontrol. When this biocontrol, if it comes, and we're working on it, they're doing a bunch of testing in Oregon for this one, but we're trying to get him, but no. Yes.
It changes pretty frequently, the status of whether or not these are getting released. Because it's a long process with many steps that can start you back over if they find something in one step.
Yes, exactly. He's going to do good because he's a multiple year
Multiple generations.
life cycles in a year, just like garlic mustard comes up multiple times in a year. So this guy can be real good when we get him. I hope it happens in my career. I hope. That'd be fun. Okay, so we're looking for the future. We're not just using the bugs we have now and that's it. We're looking for the future. What else is out there? Okay. So what we're doing today is the second ever in the state of Utah, and we actually did the first one last year. The collection day on SIFO, which is a root feeder for spotted knapweed. You just come and pick him off of the plant one at a time. It's kind of fun, interesting. These ones we'll send to Duchesne County. Anything we can do to help our neighbors helps us. So that's what we're doing out here today. He's a root feeder for spotted knapweed. His babies are what do most of the work. He lays his eggs in the ground next to the plant. They go over into the root, eat the root out right close to the crown of the plant, and eventually it kills the plant.
Is this for all noxious weeds or specific?
This is specific to a knapweed. None of these biocontrols are silver bullets. They won't eat themselves out of house and home, but they get in areas that I can't. If you have to buy these are $1.50 per insect, but it does go from year to year. I don't have to keep releasing at this site. They will just keep going and going and going.
So this is a cost-effective control because
Yes.
you're saving the $1.50 per bug and you don't have to come back here.
Yes. Video that the communications part put together for me. Anyway.
So if you can do biocontrol, I usually put all of these like a little bit backwards, and I start with mechanical control. And the reason for that is because it's one of the first things I try to think about doing if it's logistically feasible, right? Because every time we can reduce the amount of herbicide used, we're better off. But when you're treating hundreds to thousands of acres, it's just not logistically feasible. And that's partly where the garlic mustard games came from, because we're treating hundreds of acres, and especially along streams, waterways. And I really was hoping we could do something a little bit different. And so the garlic mustard games helps us with that. But also, I think it was like 6, maybe 7 years ago, we started looking at the results of our herbicide treatment, where we had been treating for years. We'd used different chemical combinations, and we weren't really seeing the reduction that we thought that we should be seeing. And I had this thought, is it possible that we're spraying, but it's not getting everywhere? And we tested it. And because to pull The cost per acre is astronomical. So when you say, hey, state, you want to fund hand weeding? They kind of look at you like you're a nutball. So they worked with us to actually record the data to ensure that, we didn't kind of fuss with that data and make ourselves look good. No, I'm kidding. They didn't do it for that reason. They really did want to be able to say, this is a method that people can use and it makes sense and it is cost effective, or no, it's not. So what we did learn is that, yes, weeding has a place. This top little drawing here is a bunch of garlic mustard that's flowering, but that lower level where it's thick again, close to the ground, that's all of the rosettes. So you're looking at second-year plants with flowers, first-year plants with rosettes. When we were spraying, we were only ever getting herbicide on that top layer because it was 100% cover. We had no impact on those little rosettes below. So the test was, let's go in, we're not gonna weed it all, but let's thin it so that if our contractor was standing here, he'd be able to pretty much see from different venues all of the plants, which means he will be able to spray 2 years worth of garlic mustard in one visit. We did this, we found in 3 different places, we skipped 3 years worth of control by doing this for 1 season. And it was because we were able to push through both the first year and the second year plant. We still do this. We don't do it as much because a lot of our populations are no longer this thick. So it's really effective when it's almost 100% cover of both layers. And because the state did work with us to collect that data, we're able to share that information and other counties are able to use it as well.
So this was, and I just thought of this, I'm sorry. Garlic mustard is one that when we first started finding it, we really didn't know how to control it. In fact, the first herbicide that I was told that worked on it was Roundup. It does work, kind of, okay? But it's not real great. You're killing everything. You don't want to do that, okay? But that's what it came out with first. Then somebody, and I don't even know, was it Utah State? I don't even know, okay? Let's try Weed Master, the 2,4-D. That'll take care of it. And it does kill it, okay? And then we started putting Escort in with it. Escort and 2,4-D. Is that what you guys
Is
pretty well use?
MSM Escort?
Yes,
Yeah.
MSM 60
MSM
is
60,
Escort.
yeah.
Yep. So then you got the two of them. Now you got Escort that has a little bit of residual, lasts in the ground for a little bit, depending on how much you use, okay, and where you're at. It stays in the ground a little bit longer to help with the rosettes. It won't stay in there. Escort doesn't stay for a year. It's 3 months or something like that, depending on how much you use, okay? So now we're getting a little bit more control out of the herbicides that we're using, correct timing. Then you get clear into where Sara Jo just headed you, still using herbicide and mechanical now. And what are we doing? We're way better off than when we started with Roundup to where we are today with a little bit of mechanical and herbicides, correct places, timing, all that. That was a neat one to me to understand.
Yeah, and I don't think a lot of people were thinking about how hand weeding could help with that. And not only did it help us get further faster, we didn't have to use the same volume of herbicide because we didn't have to soak all of those really tall plants. I say soak, you're not actually soaking them, but you didn't have to cover all of them, right? You just had to spray maybe half the amount of the herbicide. So it was definitely a win-win situation. We also use mechanical removal through our outreach programs, especially in wetland habitat. And you can see this top picture is before we started pulling in this area and after. Not much is growing in these areas. Once you remove the garlic mustard, it can take 3 years to do that. But the more that we can get volunteers involved and our contracts, because the state recognizes the value in hand weeding, we're able to cover a lot more ground and protect. This is actually, doesn't look that wet, but it's in and out of a wetland area right next to a creek. So if we can minimize herbicide use there, we really like to do that as much as possible.
Okay, grants. This one is huge because of Sara Jo. This one is her all the way. This number, I've never gotten that much in grants. Never, ever, ever. If you added them together, I haven't got that much. Okay? That's how good she does.
Well, 100 of it's not mine.
Okay? Okay?
100,000 isn't mine.
Okay. So that's Sara Jo. So these grants here are good grants. And I'll start at the top there. North Summit and South Summit, they each got $50,000 from July 1st of 2024 to June 30th of 2025. Okay, that's the state's calendar year. Okay. That's weird to me. That's off. Did you split a weed season in half with a yeah, no. That's dumb. But that's the way they do it. Okay, so that's what you get. Okay, so both of them this year, this grant season we're on right now, the one we're in the middle of, they took that money and gave it to landowners. If the landowners come to me and buy the herbicide, they have to pay for it. And then go to the soil conservation and say, hey, I bought this herbicide and this is what I did with it. I show them pictures, show them, what they did, the equipment, how many hours, blah, blah, blah. Then they get reimbursed for that purchase through that grant, okay? They also North Summit bought some seed to give to people to what's the word, Sara Jo?
Vegetate.
Revegetate, there you go, revegetate an area. Okay, well, that was great. That's huge for these guys. Okay, North and South Summit did really well. This next grant cycle, we're not going to get as well. The money's just not there. Okay, and we'll decide where it goes later. We don't know for sure yet, but okay, then yours.
And the UWSA is the Utah Weed Supervisors Association, and that's the association that Dave is a part of, and they get federal funding. That they have, I wouldn't say an abundance, but they had enough going into this year that we were all very lucky to do well in getting our grants. And that maxes out at $10,000 and it covers generally boots on the ground control, but also mapping and monitoring. Because like Dave said, without doing that mapping, you don't know how far away it is. I could be treating in the middle of it, doing absolutely no good as it runs rampant out every other direction, right? And so they will cover those two things. And I think biocontrol you might be able to put in because it's considered a type of control. The two BIL grants are, I don't know what that acronym stands for, but they're federal funding that's passed through the state. And that is money that we can use for actually the same thing as all of these other grants. They're all the ISM or invasive species mitigation grants that come from the state. All of these grants can be used to be control. That was it, boots on the ground. A lot's changed in the last 10 years, thank goodness. More science, more knowledge, more experience. They've expanded what you can do. So now these grants can cover prevention, so the outreach programs. With that, though, you have to be able to track your effectiveness. It can cover inventory. So going out to new properties and looking for the first time in mapping weeds. Can cover all the different types of control as long as you can prove they're effective or that you can make it happen. Grazing's a tough one because if you don't have the animals yourself, timing it's everything. So it's really hard to get that in a grant. But control generally, and then monitoring. And they really want us to do the monitoring because they want to see and be able to show their funders, the feds, that the money that's being brought into this county, brought into the state, spread out through the state, is actually having an impact. So these grants run the whole gamut. Now you'll see that we have just a few species listed here, though. And you'll see that we kind of bleed over into Wasatch County. We only treat this short list of species because, well, except for garlic mustard, they're not that prevalent. All of them could potentially be eradicated in Summit County. Spotted knapweed, that is quickly changing. Some really quick effort needs to happen on a couple of very large key landowners and lessees to make this a possibility in the future. But the rest, we can eradicate if we keep moving. So we focus on those species. We cross our county boundaries, particularly with Wasatch County, because we have trail systems that are becoming even more interconnected. They have a lot of leafy spurge. We don't have a lot of leafy spurge. Bonanza Flat has a lot of yellow toadflax. They don't have very much yellow toadflax. What direction are they going? They're moving into the other counties. And so by partnering across our county boundaries, we're able to prevent those weeds from moving in. Also by partnering with other counties, we're able to rank higher, I think, when we put in to get these grants, because we're recognizing cross-jurisdictional issues. Weeds don't respect boundaries. Doesn't even matter if you put up a fence. And if it's Phragmites, it doesn't matter if it's a giant concrete wall. It's gonna get past it. So in order to be competitive, we need to work together. 2025, we're not getting the money we've had in the past. We are probably about 80% down from what we get every year. So this is gonna be, and it's, you know, it's not something that is unique to us, right? There are so many organizations right now struggling because of funding issues. This is where we reach out to our residents and our volunteers, right? This is the time that the people of this community can make the biggest difference to help make up for that lack of funding that allows us to usually get all this work on the ground. So outreach is going to be expanded. You'll be hearing more. But you can help us, right? How can you help us? You're here, you're learning, you know how to identify some weeds, right? You're gonna pass the test that's at the door, right?
Before you leave, you have to pass it.
You're starting to learn the weeds, right? So you will be able to start recognizing, share that information with your neighbor if they happen to have a weed, right? You'll now know that there are different methods. You know there are resources you can come to ask questions about those resources. And Dave just talked about revegetation. If you do weed control and you start to see success, get something else growing there. Usually we start with grasses because Dave talked about chemicals that don't kill grass, selective herbicides. We can use those herbicides on the weeds while the grass is established. So now you have native plants competing while you're also treating it maybe with herbicide and killing it out slowly. The other way that you can help is to volunteer. Volunteer with county, go out to the different events, learn more, come and play with Summit CWMA, pull some weeds, maybe win some prizes, maybe even have a killer food truck party at the end of the season. Honestly, it's not a food truck party, but if you haven't had Savory Kitchen's taco stand, oy vey, it is amazing. Join Swanner. That's another way. There are other organizations that are out pulling weeds on their own property and do an amazing job at controlling weeds, but part of that is because, just like us, they rely heavily on volunteers.
Her right there, where was she from?
Rhea, she's from Swanner.
Swanner, oh my heavens, sorry, Rhea. They do a great job. If you want to learn more about it, get more specific about weeds, they do a great job. Go to their place, talk to them, and find out what they do. They have a fun place there, okay?
And reach out if you have questions. Please do. Even if you're in your yard and you're like, is this a weed? This is how you can find us. Take a picture of the flower, a leaf, and the whole plant. There's a good chance, well, we'll be able to tell you if it's a noxious weed. There's a good chance we can tell you what it is eventually.
Yes. Text, email, anything, I'll do.
So you guys are now honoring your weed warriors. Please wear the badge of honor as you go out to train your neighbors and your friends, like they were saying, and tap these two are your resources. Use them, and tell your friends that they're out there too, because like Dave said, there really are people who don't understand that we have those programs, and it's like there's a free program that he put together. Not every county has that. We should be very proud that our county has that program. So, and the biocontrol stuff is super fun. He's so entertaining to be around, and when you get him in the field, it's even better. So.
And we apologize in advance for the curse that we just have put upon you. When you see a hillside of Dyer's Wood or White Top, you will never be able to say it's beautiful
forget.
again.